to Brewing Success, where growth is the mission, change is the reward, and progress is the goal. I am your host, Andrea Gebhardt. I'm a former educator turned passionate entrepreneur whose desire to create impact has never wavered. I've spent the last decade teaching, mentoring, and coaching people on how to create success in their lives and businesses with proven strategies and systems that not only bring about change, but big results. When it comes down to it, teaching is my specialty, leadership is my jam, and inspiring you to live a bigger, fuller life is what I'm all about. This podcast will give you the knowledge and tools you need to brew success in almost any area of your life. You're going to walk away each week feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to step outside your comfort zone and into the next level of who you're meant to be. Now let's get into today's episode. I am so excited to launch this podcast with this series, the ABCs of Leadership. Now, if you just heard the word leadership and think that this episode isn't for you, I want you to think again, because whether you are leading people or not, we are always leading ourselves. And so this is definitely for you. Leadership is a learning process with no destination because no great leader ever really gets there. They just continually work to get better. And that is exactly what this series is going to do. It's going to help sharpen those leadership edges. So let me tell you about how the ABCs of leadership came to be. So I was sitting in my office. I had just wrapped a mentoring call, and the person I was on the other line mentoring, she was just thanking me for the call, for the information, for the insight and the perspective. And she goes, man, leadership just comes easy as ABC to you. And I said, actually, it never always did. It's just I've been becoming, studying leadership for a really long time. There's been a lot of failure at the front end of this. That's created the back end where I am able to sit here and share things with you that are going to help you move the needle in your leadership journey. And we got off the call and I thought, how cute, ABCs of leadership. And then it was like, bing, like a big light bulb went off. And I thought, oh my gosh, ABCs of leadership. What if I could? And then my left hand just like bolts for the pen next to me. And I start writing out all 26 letters of the alphabet and the associated leadership principle with that. And I couldn't stop writing until I was done. And I thought, my gosh, this right here, let me just take this and let me flesh it out. Let me develop it, because this would be really great for somebody who's just getting started in their leadership journey. This would be even better for somebody who's looking to refine and strengthen their leadership skills. And this would be great for that individual who's looking to multiply their leadership by developing leadership in others. And so that's where the ABCs of leadership came from. And just like in school, when you learn the ABCs as you're getting ready to learn how to read and write, you're looking at these letters and you're starting to understand how these letters work together to make sounds and how those sounds work together to make words. And it's the understanding of the ABCs that enables you to become proficient in reading and writing. And so it's understanding the ABCs of leadership that's going to help you develop your leadership and help you increase your leadership abilities. And so I've created 26 incredible lessons on leadership that I'll be delivering to you. And I'm so excited for you to learn from those and apply those and grow with those over the coming weeks. So when I say that leadership is my jam, I am dead serious. I love leadership. And a lot of people have asked, how did you know leadership was your calling, your thing? How did you fall into this place? And quite honestly, it's not something that I ever knew was a part of who I was going to be until I was, you guys are going to laugh at this, but I was literally in 6th grade when I had my first conversation and experience on leadership. In fact, one of the 6th grade teachers was in charge of a leadership program. And it's really funny, side story here. That 6th grade teacher, when I became a teacher, we were colleagues. So I went from being a student, then we were colleagues. And then when I became an assistant principal, he was my boss. And so Danny Ariano, Mr. Ariano, this episode is for you. I can thank you for putting me on the leadership track in life. And so he ran this little leadership group at school. And he had reached out to my 6th grade teacher and asked him to talk to me about participating in this leadership program and attending something called Camp Keep, which is basically like a student leadership camp. And so I remember my teacher calling me to his desk and he goes, "Hey, Mr. Ariano says that you got the makings of a leader and we want you to attend this leadership thing and do Camp Keep and blah, blah, blah." And I was like, wait a minute, who, me? Like, I was thinking to myself, who, me? Like, me, the girl with the bad bangs, the terrible haircut that is not popular, that lives in the ghetto, like me. And I remember feeling undeserving, unworthy, really scared, but kind of excited all at the same time. And the next thing I know, a couple weeks goes by, and here we are in this van driving in the canyon to this place called Camp Keep. And I'm looking around the van and I'm like, I know all these people. They're friends of mine. I'm like, we're not leaders. We are the ruckus of our campus. Like, maybe this is a last ditch effort to save these kids, right? They've got lots of potential, but it could go really bad or it could go really good. So let's take them to this camp thing and hope for the best. And so there we had the most incredible constructive conversations around leadership. I learned about leadership. We did the typical trust fall, team building, team cooperation activities and exercises, and came back with this expectation that we were now leaders and we're going to model leader-like behavior and become the leaders of our campus. And it was there in that moment that I recognized and learned not just what leadership was, but that I could be a leader, that I was a leader, and just this really deep intrinsic desire to continue to follow through on that followed me all the way throughout life. It's really interesting because, you know, when you're in sixth grade, you don't really have a whole lot to identify with. It's kind of like that really awkward stage in life. That's why sixth graders and really junior hires, you know, really become the environment they keep. Like 1 minute they're with the cool kids, 1 minute they're not, 1 minute they're this, 1 minute they're that, because they're searching and seeking, trying to figure out who they are. And I was just given this, like, you know, identity, like you're a leader. And it was almost as if, you know, like Spider-Man puts on the Spidey suit, he instantly becomes a superhero. Without the suit, he's just a science nerd. With the suit, he is, you know, flying through the cities, saving people, keeping peace in the city. And that's what this whole leadership cape was like for me. And it just followed me all the way throughout my education. Found myself in leadership positions everywhere I went. The captain of this team, the captain of that squad, the president of this club, the president of this student body leadership, the president or the campaign manager or the person in charge of this event and this fundraiser and this campaign and this activity and all these different things. And then I moved on into education and ended up getting a master's degree in educational leadership, where I was introduced to for the first time to personal development and this whole idea of developing, you know, yourself from the inside out, your mindset and all of these things to make you a better person, to develop those around you. And it's really interesting because the coursework for that was primarily John Maxwell's teachings on leadership. And in 2012, I went to a conference in LA where he was teaching on the 5 levels of leadership, mostly because I was trying to figure out now as a new assistant principal what my current leadership level was, where it was, and how I could grow and evolve that. And not just for me, but really helping my teachers then identify where their leadership levels were and give them the tools to increase their leadership levels. Because, you know, this whole idea of, well, if I get better and stronger as a leader, my teachers have the room and the capacity, right? The law of the lid to grow and become better. And if they grow and become better, then student achievement increases and our community improves. And I just thought to myself, like, that's just what leadership was about for me. That's where I got excited. And that's where I got really passionate, was just this perpetual, constant evolution of positive action and change that stems from leadership. And so that's kind of where this journey has, you know, started and gotten to where it is today. And then I left my career in education, became an entrepreneur, found myself very quickly in a leadership position, and then a leader among leaders and a leader among leaders, and started increasing my circle of influence and sphere of influence with higher level leaders. And leadership literally is something I'm incredibly passionate about and excited to bring to you guys with these ABCs of leadership. So today we're going to talk about the first 3 letters of this series, A, B, and C. So A is for action, B is for belief, and C is for confidence. And I'm starting with these 3 because they're super important to understand in terms of how they relate to leadership in general, but even more so because they are foundational to all of the other letters in this sequence. And it's going to just really give you a better idea of how all of this really works and plays together. So A is for action. Now, what's crazy is that most people associate leadership with title, position, and paycheck, right? But we could take a look around in our lives and we can see, gosh, we know people in leadership positions who are not leading. We know people who are in positions where it's a leadership title, but they're not leading. And we know people who are making massive incomes, again, not leading. So title, position, and paycheck has absolutely nothing to do with leadership. In fact, a lot of people fail to recognize themselves as leaders and fail to recognize others as up and coming leaders because they're not associated with that title or position. So we don't think like a leader, act as if a leader would act because we haven't gotten to that place yet. When in reality, you can lead from right where you are because leadership is not based on those things. Leadership is action. Action is what separates the serious from the seriously interested. And action absolutely matters in so many different ways. And I can always sort through a crowd of people and find the leaders right away. I can spot them right away because leaders have a willingness to act. They don't just think about acting, they're willing to do it. They just get right in there. They're the first ones to the event. They're the last ones to leave. They're the first ones asking how they can help or how they can serve. And so leadership really is that demonstration of a willingness to act. And why that's important is because in leadership, why action is so important is because good leadership is about leading by example. Leading by example. I'm pretty sure that most of us respect leaders who are in it with their people. We want to follow. We want to be alongside leaders who have their sleeves rolled up, who are in the work with their people. And that's why I always say that people follow leaders who are in the trenches, not on the benches. And I think back to my career in education, there were leaders in that field who were trying to tell us how to teach, but they hadn't been in a classroom in 20 years. So they couldn't relate to who we were, what we were dealing with, what we needed, right? As teachers. And then when I was an administrator, we were being led by administrative leaders who hadn't been in a classroom or hadn't even been in an administrative position in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And leading today looks very different than leading back then. And so they were trying to lead from the benches. But it was the administrators and the leadership within the districts of the people who were in the classrooms doing the walkthroughs, a part of the curriculum meetings, helping build the assessments that we really respected because they understood where we were, what we were dealing with, and what we needed. And that's what mattered. And if you want to be a great leader, then you got to understand who your people are, where they are, and what they need. And the only way that you can do that is to be right in the trenches with them. And, to further that point, leadership is action because action indicates strong commitment on behalf of the leader to the mission and the vision. Action indicates strong commitment to the mission and the vision. When a leader is in action, they can't help but to be in action because they're so committed to the vision and the mission of what you're doing, the bigger picture. They're so committed to it, they can't help but be in action. Hear me say that again. Those leaders who are in inaction, who are not in the trenches, who are on the benches, there's zero commitment to the vision and the mission because they're not in there with you, with them, with the team, helping them do that. So as you're growing and developing as a leader, you want to remember that leadership is action, that leadership is leading by example, that your level of leadership is only as relevant as the level of action that you're putting into the role of being a leader. And I love that. And action is so important because action is what builds belief. And so B is for belief as we go into this next letter here. And belief matters so much. And I'm not going to talk about belief as in like your personal beliefs as a leader. I'm going to talk belief from a different perspective because when it comes down to leadership, number one, you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in the mission. You got to believe in the vision. You got to believe in your abilities. This is going to enable you to inspire others with the assurance and the direction necessary to achieve big results. But as a leader, you got to double down on your belief. Why? Well, to put it simply, the people who join your team often lack belief in themselves. The adults you're currently working with, the adults you're currently serving, lack belief in themselves. And so you have to transfer your level of belief onto and into them until they believe in themselves. And you got to have you got to have a belief bucket surplus, because you've got to be able to transfer belief constantly and consistently until they believe in them enough in themselves. And isn't it crazy? I mean, think about the power of this phrase, I believe in you. Think about the power of this phrase. Think about back in the day when you were little and you were getting ready to step up to the plate, getting ready to walk on stage, getting ready to do that scary thing for the very first time. And the adult that cared about you, that significant person in your life, looked you in the face, put their hand on your shoulder, and they were like, you got this, bud. You can do this, sister. I believe in you. You have everything it takes. You've got this. And instantly you felt full. You felt light. You felt like you can almost do anything because somebody breathed life into you with simple words of belief. And there's a such thing as a transfer of energy. And that belief energy is so incredibly important. I mean, even as I sit here now and I say, you can do this, I believe in you. I know that you started to feel good inside, but isn't it crazy how as we grow up and as we become adults, we tend to no longer look at the person we sit next to at work, look at the team that we are leading, look at the people that we are doing business with, and tell them, I believe in you, as if it's reserved for little kids. This is not tooth fairy magic. This is leadership magic. This phrase is leadership magic. So embedding that and giving that belief to those people that you are around. And guess what doing that does? It not only helps fill their belief bank, but your belief in you and your belief in the mission and the vision and your belief in them actually breeds confidence. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So C is for confidence. And I like to call confidence vitamin C because it's essential to the health of the organization. It contributes to the overall success. It builds trust. And you know what trusting teams do? They crush goals. Confidence is really your belief in your ability to do something. And this is really crazy. I love the topic of confidence. In fact, over the last couple of years, I've really taken a deep dive into confidence because I used to think that confidence was an attitude, right? Like confidence was a mindset. And what I came to learn and understand through reading several books and studying confidence is that confidence is really a decision. It's a decision. Like you decide to believe in your ability, because again, confidence is your belief in your ability to do something. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So you might as well start believing that you can, because leaders don't use the word can't. Great leadership requires confidence. And the good news is that you can work to increase your confidence as you're growing in your leadership, growing your leadership skills. So when you think about confidence being a decision, when you think about the fact that confidence isn't something that you're born with, isn't some, talent. It's not like a doctor doesn't get a baby out, right? Like, oh, look, it's a confident one. It's not how it works. Your confidence is merely your ability in your belief in your ability to do something. That's it. So turn up the volume on belief in yourself and what you can do. Because a lack of confidence has nothing to do with what you look like, where you come from, what your past says, what your past mistakes say about you. A lack of confidence really is just you deciding not to believe in your ability to do the things. Like take, for example, being on a playground, right? Here's a really good example of what this looks like in action. You have two little kids right next to the monkey bars. There's that one little kid who looks at the monkey bars and they instantly say, I can't do that. There's no way I can make it across. I'm not strong enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm too little. I'm too weak. I'm too whatever. They don't believe in their ability to get across a monkey bar. So you know what they do? They stand there. They put their fingers in their armpits. They sway back and forth and they talk themselves out of getting across the monkey bars. Why? Because they don't believe in their ability to do it. So they don't. Then you have that kid who looks at the monkey bars, thinks to themselves, oh, I could totally make it across there. I can do it. Maybe they've never even done it before. Maybe they've only ever watched somebody do it, but they climb up the little ladder, they put their hands on the first bar, and they just go for it. And because they believe that they can, they actually do. And they made progress in that one thing. You see, confidence separates the people who make progress and the people who don't. And the crazy thing is that it has nothing to do with anything other than the decision to believe in your ability to do the things. Like, so let's decide to be confident. Confidence is a skill. It's something that's developable. I don't even think that's a word, by the way. Developable? It's whatever. It's developable. You can develop it over time. You can strengthen confidence. You can develop it over time. You can grow it over time. And that comes by way of just upfront believing in yourself, upfront believing in your ability to do something. And I'm going to encourage you, the next time you're doing something for the first time, the next time you're approaching something that maybe you weren't good at before, to like walk into that situation, walk into that moment and tell yourself, I believe that I can do this. I believe in my ability to make a cake for the birthday. I believe in my ability to build a fence, even though I've never done it before. Because if you put that belief in yourself up front, then your confidence will naturally increase. And I love that about confidence. So a lot of times people ask, well, what are some ways I can increase my confidence as a leader? So I'm going to talk to you about that because it's big and it really, really does matter. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that you got to bust out your inner boss. And if you don't know what your inner boss is, it's that little voice inside of you that tells you to speak up and contribute. You know, when you're sitting in a meeting or you're on a Zoom or you're in a situation where they're asking for ideas or they're asking for people to contribute to the space and you have something and something speaks up inside of you. It's like, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? And you quiet it, you silence it, you tell it to go away. That is your inner boss wanting to speak up. I want you to like listen to that and execute on that, because the more you listen to that inner boss, the more you trust that inner boss is going to start to show up on the outside and your confidence is going to increase, because that idea that came from your intuition, that little inner boss, is going to be the one that they use. And had you not spoken up and contributed that, then maybe the company would have made the growth that it could have made. It was your idea that changed it all. It was your idea that was the power pivot for everything that company was able to accomplish. So you can start to see how all three of these letters really do play together. The next thing that you can do to help increase your leadership or your confidence as a leader is to take action. You got to step outside your comfort zone, right into your progress zone. Understand that where you're comfortable is not where greatness comes from. You got to step out of comfort and step into progress. All that's outside that comfort zone is the progress zone. That's not scary, right? Let's step into that. Effort, failure, and learning are the three key ingredients of confidence building. Effort, failure, and learning are the three key ingredients of confidence building. The more you overcome, the more you come over to the confident side of leadership. Think about it. The more you overcome, right? And overcoming increases our belief in our abilities. And I know this to be true because when you look back over your life and you look at all the things you've had to overcome and you look at all the obstacles you have had to face, the bigger things in life aren't so scary because you've been through something harder or you've been through something worse or you've been through something more challenging. So now when you come to the new challenge or the next hard thing, you can look it in the face and be like, oh, I believe in my ability to overcome this because I've kind of already done this before. And again, your confidence increases. The next thing that you can do is permanently pause perfection. Guys, we got to push pause on that perfection button because it literally stalls out progress. In fact, I say that imperfect action is better than stale perfection every day of the week. Stale leadership always equals stale results. And nobody likes stale anything, whether it's chips or snacks or Oreos. You're expecting something amazing. You go to bite into it. It has no flavor. It's too crunchy. It's not crunchy enough. It's stale. It's disappointing. Stale leadership is disappointing. Stale leadership doesn't progress. Stale leadership is boring. And stale leadership comes from trying to pursue perfection when great leadership is about pursuing progress. So taking imperfect action is what we're looking for. Most people never accomplish what they have been called to accomplish, what they are purposeful and passionate about, because they want to wait until everything's perfect. They have the perfect words. They have the perfect setup. They have the perfect audience. They have the perfect website. They have the perfect idea. They have all the perfect things in place. Well, listen, there is nothing in life that is perfect, and the most beautiful and incredible thing came from the most imperfect circumstances. And that's what you've got to know and trust, is that taking imperfect action is going to move you so much faster along that leadership track and that track of success than absolutely anything else. So when you think about where you are in your confidence as a leader, if you were to rate your level of confidence as a leader, are you a level 10? You're like, I'm super confident. I believe in my ability to do the things. I'm all about developing confidence in other people. I understand what confidence is. I'm flexing it and building it and developing it all the time. Or maybe you're a 5, where that's probably like where most average people are. They feel comfortable and confident in some areas over others, but their confidence wavers based on certain environmental circumstances, and they don't really understand, or you don't really understand how to help others develop their confidence. And 0 is like you lack all understanding of confidence. And the good news, again, is that confidence is a decision. So if you want to move up on that confidence scale and increase your level of confidence as a leader, then what you've got to do is you've got to decide to believe in your abilities, because that is what confidence is all about. And people who come across as really confident just have really strong belief in themselves. How beautiful is that? It's not intimidating. It's not scary. It's not, wow, I wish I was confident like so-and-so. No, it is, when are you going to decide to believe in yourself and your ability to do something like you believe in so many other things, and really increase that confidence muscle over time? So when you think about those suggestions that I just made, right? Bussing out your inner boss, taking action, stepping out of your comfort zone into that progress zone, permanently pausing that perfection button, which one is the one that you need to work on? Which one is the one that you need to put into practice and into action right away to develop your confidence as a leader? And now you can see how and why all of these are so important, because it's confidence, right? Your ability, your belief in your ability to do the things that's going to fuel what? More action. And more action as a leader is going to build more belief, and more belief is going to increase confidence. So you can see again how these 3 things really come together and really serve as the foundation of leadership and the foundation of this series, and the ABC series of leadership. So I am so grateful that you are here with me today to kick off this podcast, this series. It's such an exciting time. I would love nothing more than for you guys to take a quick moment and write a review on this podcast. Let me know what you're loving. Share any questions you might have. I'd love to have some conversations with all of the listeners out there. And if this episode was helpful for you as a growing and developing leader, I encourage you to share it with 3 people that you know who are also on their leadership journey. With that, you guys, cannot wait to be back with you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's go brew some success.